Ever wondered how bonds work? Imagine them as IOUs on a grand scale, a promise to repay borrowed money with interest. They are the most common type of fixed income security. A bond's issuer pledges to make a series of interest payments in fixed amounts, along with repaying the principal amount when the bond reaches its maturity date. But what happens when the market interest rates increase? Well, the value of these bonds decreases. That's because the present value of a bond's promised cash flows decreases when a higher discount rate applies. It's a balancing act of sorts, keeping the scales of risk and reward in check. And speaking of risk, bonds come with their own ratings based on their relative probability of default. That is, their likelihood of failing to make promised payments. It's a little like a credit score for bonds. Naturally, investors prefer bonds with a lower probability of default. Consequently, bonds that carry a higher risk or lower credit quality must offer investors higher yields to compensate for the greater probability of default. Now, let's delve into the specifics of a bond. A fixed income security features the issuer of the bond, the maturity date, the par value or the principal value to be repaid, the coupon rate and frequency, and the currency in which payments will be made. So who issues bonds? The list is long, from corporations and sovereign national governments to non-sovereign governments, quasi-government entities, supranational entities, and special purpose entities. Each has its unique characteristics and risk profiles. The maturity date of a bond is when the principal is due to be repaid. Once a bond is issued, the time remaining until maturity is its term to maturity or tenor. The term to maturity can range from 1 day to 30 years or more. Some bonds, like those issued by Disney and Coca-Cola, have original maturities of 100 years. And then there are perpetual bonds, which make periodic interest payments but do not promise to repay the principal amount. Finally, we reach the par value of a bond, the principal amount due at maturity. This value can also go by other names like face value, maturity value, redemption value, or principal value. Bond prices are typically quoted as a percentage of par. So to summarize, bonds are fixed income securities that promise to repay borrowed money with interest. They are rated based on their probability of default and must offer higher yields to compensate for higher risks. Bonds have specific features, including the issuer, maturity date, par value, coupon rate and frequency, and the currency of payment. Various entities issue bonds, each with different risk profiles. The maturity date is when the principal is due, and the par value is the principal amount to be repaid at maturity. Now, the next time someone talks about bonds, you'll know exactly what they're talking about. So go ahead, dive into the world of finance with a newfound understanding of bonds.